Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Good evening and welcome. And hello, my guest. Hello, Phyllis Gibson from New Brunswick.
Yes.
And I'm glad to have you here. I'm going to give a brief talk and then I'll transfer it over to you.
Okay.
About the your chance to talk on my show. Have you seen me before?
I spoke to you before on the phone, yes.
Great. Okay, good. All right. Well, tonight is now the 18th. It is the 18th of January. It's Sunday night. And we're here for another time with CPS. Now, there was a couple of you this morning on my show that wanted to finish up your story. And I hope you come in tonight and talk. We do have a guest tonight, which she's going to tell about her story. I'm glad to have you here. And you have reached the right spot. This is the Fight to CPS. Stop Taking Our Children. I'm your host, Bob Pace. And my guest tonight is Phyllis Gibson from New Brunswick. I guess that's Connecticut, right, Phyllis?
Canada, New Brunswick,
Canada. I'm so sorry. Yes, you're right. You're, I think, the first guest I've ever had from outside of the United States. I've had 3 people call in. I've had one person from Mexico, one person from South Africa, and I think you're the third person. But I never had a guest that was out of state, so I'm glad that you did, and I'm glad to have you here. I want you all to know that you heard briefly a message from my attorney, Vincent Davis, who talked a little bit about how he can help you. And he is, I want to thank him for all the time he gives and everything. And also, I have my show producer, Grace, who helps put this together for me a lot. And I want to thank her and stuff too. So let me go ahead and start with Phyllis. I don't need to really talk about some of the things you can do this podcast because I'll put them up on the screen so people can read them. Read them. Go ahead, Phil. Start from the beginning.
Well, I got married at a very young age. So I got married at 20, right?
Okay.
So I could not have children. And I loved children. And the doctors were always trying to get my organs out. They just told me I would never have children. So I got divorced, and at 28, I had my first child. I moved away from that home, and my body healed. I was living next to a power station. So my first husband and I, we couldn't conceive because my eggs were hard boiled and the semen couldn't penetrate. So at 28, I had my first child.
Now I remember you. I remember you. So yes, you have talked to my show. Yes.
So I moved from Nova Scotia because that's where I was born. And I moved to Toronto, Ontario. And I had the police and the fire department stalking me. And I had 2 children at the time. And my mother was sick and dying, and she was with me in Toronto. So, being the highest paid model at the time in the agency, I took a check in and they didn't want to cash it. So I had the police stalking me, the fire department, and I ended up leaving the country for 10 years because I couldn't go nowheres. They stole my,
Why would they not cash your check?
they cashed it. It was about $20,000 to $25,000 check for 8 hours work.
Okay.
And it kind of sent red lights that a person.
Why would it send red lights? Why would it send red lights?
Because I'm not Caucasian. I'm Indigenous. They didn't want me to make that.
I guess I'm pretty much colorblind because that's right. You are the first nation. They're called the Indians in Canada, the First Nation. So
Mi'kmaq.
That's your tribe, Mi'kmaq?
Yes.
Okay.
So we left the country and I stayed 10 years in the States studying.
What state did you stay in?
Dearborn, Michigan. But I went to school down in Kissimmee, Florida, and got certified. Okay. So I came back after the doctors said that my mom was going to die. So we did a lot of natural healing. We're into everything natural. So to make a long story short, I had my 3rd child in Dearborn, Michigan, where the nurses would not let me breastfeed after I gave birth. And I was a certified colon therapist at the time, but I didn't tell them anything.
Uh-huh.
So they tried to hijack my baby. They tried to steal my baby. I had to leave the hospital without my baby.
Why would they not let you go with your baby?
They told me that he needed an emergency surgery so that he could have a bowel movement. They wanted to cut a hole in his stomach. And me being a colon therapist, I never told them that I was a colon therapist. I just said no, because when you breastfeed a child, they don't have bowel movements fast. They absorb the breast milk.
Okay. But why, my question is why did you listen to this? Shouldn't you listen to your did you have a pediatrician?
This was 20 years ago when I gave birth to my son.
Right.
But
you didn't have a pediatrician then?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't have a pediatrician. I was trying to move back to Canada.
So basically you went along and accepted what they were talking to you about, or did you say no, I want a second opinion?
I wanted a second opinion, and I called emergency hearing with the judge.
Okay.
The social worker they gave me was strung out on Vicodins. At the meeting, she told me I shouldn't be breastfeeding. I still didn't. Why should
you not be breastfeeding? Did you test positive for anything in your?
No, I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. No.
So why would they say you should not be breastfeeding?
She's strung out on Vicodins. She's strung out on drugs. That means she's not in her right mind to even be a child protective service worker.
Did you know about asking for a second social worker? Have that one replaced?
No, her boss was there at the meeting and told her to be quiet. So we went to court.
And you probably didn't have a judge with you, right?
I had an appointed attorney. She didn't know that I was a colon therapist. Yeah. And the judge asked me if I had anything to say. So I just told the judge that I was a colon therapist and my son is perfectly healthy Now he's 20 years old and he has never had the surgery. He has never had any colon problems. But what they did was they did 10 biopsies, which was going into the anus and cutting 10 times, which swells up the anus. And when the fecal matter comes out, it swells up and the baby screams. So they tried to ruin.
Why was this procedure? Did you give him permission to do this?
I didn't have a choice.
Well, I don't understand. Were your medical rights terminated?
Yes.
How were your medical rights terminated if this just started out?
They did the 10 biopsies, hoping that I would take this newborn baby home and not know how to take care of him.
Well, I still, it takes time to get rid of your, now again, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't know how CPS, well, I do know how CPS was, but I've been fighting for 15 years.
Well, 20 years ago, when they released me with my baby, they already threatened me about my other 2 kids. So I had them taken out of the country over into Canada and went back. My godmother, who is a colon therapist, 34 years, we went back to the States. And I went to fight for the baby. We had a meeting with the doctor. I won't say his name. And at that time, he must have been 80, 90 years old. And he's still working. So he would be 100 and something now. So I find it strange that he's still working, because I called the hospital. So I ended up taking my baby and my other 2 kids to Nova Scotia. Now, my 2 older boys for 3 years were in school, honor students, received an award every year for not missing a day. They raided my godmother's house, the sheriffs did. This was in September, looking for me. And at the time, the chief of police of Detroit was my friend, a very good friend.
Okay.
So on the documents, nothing but lies. Lies, lies, lies. Medical neglect. I wasn't supposed to, my kids weren't enrolled in school, and all kinds of lies. That's all they do is lie, manipulate. So when I moved back to Nova Scotia, I renovated the house. I have 3 children. All I heard was about, neglecting the kids, medical neglect. That's all I heard. So I had 2 workers come knocking on my door. 2 men. I won't say the worker's name. He ended up getting fired for drinking and driving and cheating on his wife. He did nothing but bully and torment me. My doctor was on my side from Nova Scotia. Now, I went to the IWK, which is a hospital for babies, for young children. Mm-hmm. I went there. It's all about money. My doctor in Nova Scotia, I won't say his name because he's passed away, was on my side and was dirty mad because the Americans wouldn't share the records. I have all the records now. Mm-hmm. You do not do a major surgery on a 3-day-old baby so he can have a bowel movement out of his stomach on a maybe and a might. My son's 20 years old. He's never had a bowel problem.
Well, I don't understand how they can orchestrate. Did they come to your house and say, we're investigating you because you did neglect or abuse, and by the way, we're removing your parental rights? It takes process for all that to take place.
No, they didn't say that.
Well, then how did you know your rights were terminated then?
When I was in the hospital, they made me leave the hospital without my baby. And I was breastfeeding. I had to go back and breastfeed.
Did you know that you don't have to follow the caseworkers? I mean, they can't. Oh boy, they can't do what they're doing unless you consent to it.
I consented to nothing
Okay, then why did you leave the hospital?
because they told me I had to leave and I wasn't taking the baby.
Who said they said you had to leave? Was the hospital director?
The nurses and Child Protective Services.
Okay, Child Protection Services cannot have you removed from the hospital.
I left the hospital without my child.
I understand that, but you did not fight you about leaving. I mean, did the police have to escort you out?
No,
Then why did you not stay there with your baby?
they told me I was not allowed. So I left.
Okay. That's okay. I'm trying to tell because we got a lot of people listening, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea. CPS is not the authority on anything.
No,
They
they're
say
not.
big words and they try to muscle their muscle, but they don't have that kinds of authority. You as parents got to stand up. You got to know what CPS is. They are a rogue agency that's turned bad, and they're all interested about money, and they'll make up stories and order you like you have to do something.
Exactly. And you
But
don't. You have
to do
rights.
something because what you do is that did you try to get an attorney?
Afterwards, yeah.
But not see, anytime you get in trouble with the law, the first thing you should do is call an attorney. Because you cannot fight CPS.
I know I couldn't fight CPS. I had to get back to Canada. My sister was dying. So I made sure that the 3 kids and I stayed like a day with my sister before she passed.
Okay.
But I did tell the judge I was coming back. And I did go back. Not one lawyer would take my case. Not in Canada and not in the US.
Well, okay.
Doing 10 biopsies was ruining the colon
That is
wall.
wrong. You should not. I mean, that's unethical. That's, you could report the hospital, you can report the doctor, you can report the nurse, you can report the CPS worker, and if the police are involved, you can report them. They all have accountability. Everybody has accountability in this world.
They did nothing. When I moved back to Nova Scotia, they have done nothing but torment the living hell out of me.
Because you're allowing them to do that.
Well, I had the authorities called on me 100 times in 1 year.
Okay.
And that's 3 times a week. I have 3 dogs at the time. I have 3 children and my 83-year-old father who I took care of for 13 years.
Okay.
I took care of my mom for 10 and homeless people in America and in Canada for 30 years.
Okay.
All they ever did was come and bully and be nosy, wanting to see how I lived. My house was very clean. I had Child Protective Services show up because my children were getting their hair braided.
Now, could you not talk to them? Did you have to talk to them?
Talk to them about what? Why they were showing up?
Okay. I have my rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers, period, unless you're present with your attorney.
Well, they would show up at the door.
Well, that's fine. You don't answer the door. Too many people have been shot and killed by answering the door.
Well, I know.
I mean, you don't answer the door. There's no law that says the only way they can muscle their way in there if danger is taking place, like the child is in immediate danger. They can come in, or they have a warrant. They have to have a warrant. They have to go to the judge and ask the judge, we need a warrant to go into this person's home and talk to them.
Exactly. But how my home was set up so that like it's a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom, swimming pool, hot tub. So when you come in the driveway, the hot tub's there, the barbecue's there. That's where all the young kids would hang out at.
Okay.
The top deck was there for my dad to have company.
Okay.
So the property is opening and welcoming. And they would just show up. So it's not like I can tell all the kids
Well,
to
you
run.
could tell them you need to get off your property. Did you own the property?
It was my mother's house.
Okay.
That was gifted
You
to
can
me.
speak on behalf of your mother. You have ownership of that land. They cannot go on private property.
I ended up losing. I owned 90% of the block. I ended up losing the property.
What happened? Did something foreclose?
Well, the thing is, I was supposed to get a free roof being indigenous. They turned it, we only owed about 30,000 on it. And what they did was they made it into a mortgage and then they pulled the mortgage. So I had to come up with $88,000 or $89,000 in 90 days. They contacted all lenders,
Who is they? Who is they?
the so-called 1%, the elite. They
Are
didn't.
they policemen? Are they lawyers? Are they judges?
All of them were involved.
I know, but okay.
All of them were involved.
Right. Well,
I contacted the police because there were people in the woods across the street next to the power station that was making me sick.
okay.
I contacted the police, the RCMP, to let them know that there's strange men there. I have lots of kids. My son, age 13, walked to Bible studies, was ran over by an unmarked vehicle, broken leg, broken arm, and concussion. No police came to interview us at the hospital. No police came to my home. My son and I were rushed from the local hospital because they were being racist and didn't want to take care of my son, and the doctor knew. And we went to the IWK, where he had surgery and 11 doctors looked at him and took care of him. But not once did the RCMP come and interview us about what happened.
Did you try to go to the chief of the RMPC, the Royal Mounted Police? You try to go to the chief.
Well, the chief of police from Ottawa is my cousin. He's retired.
Well, they have a new chief of police that takes.
Yes, they do. Yeah. When you have police officers coming to the end of your driveway asking you to go to the bar, right? I don't date cops. I never did date cops. When I was a teenager, my favorite cousin was killed by a cop. His body was laid on the railroad tracks. His name is Graydon Viner, my cousin. Missing persons. Unsolved mystery. The last person that had my cousin was a police officer in his vehicle. And that young man was brutally killed. And how do I know that? Because many years later, I had a young girl on my massage bed who lived with the coroner.
Okay.
So how does my cousin, who so-called was drunk, laid his body on the track, have his finger chewed off and his ear chewed off?
Well, it's just hard for me, the phantom, that nobody of authority was trying to help you. It seems like everybody's just running rapidly wild.
If you don't have sex with them, if you don't have babies with them, they're going to make your life miserable. I have 11 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
I have one sister who had a set of twins in the hospital. They stole one of her babies, kept her in the hospital, drugged up for 6 months. Now, my sister said she'll come on the show later, but she's stressed. She had 3 pregnancies, and every pregnancy they try to steal her babies. And this is in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Anything I have to say, there's receipts for everything.
Okay.
So we're still looking for my sister, my nephew. The other nephew is in jail for murder that he did not do, and they have no evidence, and they're keeping him there. He is an adult now.
Well, wait a minute. Why is he kept in jail?
Because they don't like our bloodline. They don't like my sister. They stole my sister's baby, and they have to try to make us look like we're bad. My sister gave birth to 2 boys. The other boy grew up 20 minutes from us. We're still looking for him, and his brother, his twin brother, is in jail for a murder that he didn't do. And the evidence, there is no evidence. Crown attorneys are dirty. The judges are dirty. Federal government is dirty. I have no status card. 11 of us. We're all native. We have no status cards. If you do, what is it, the DNA, we come up as Caucasians. I've been on this farm for 10 years, and I was bullied by the Department of Fisheries and stuff. I do healing circles here. They came here and wrote me up, I don't know, 20 tickets. When I went down to talk to them about it, because I was going to take them to court for harassing me, they totally erased it. I didn't even exist. Digital blueprints are being erased. Service Canada owes me $30,000, sent in the paperwork multiple times, 10 times. If you look it up, it says I only spoke to them once. I'm talking genealogies are being falsified. There are more white people walking around in Canada on the reserves with full status cards and off the reserves, and it's all fake ID.
Okay.
They've done nothing but torment us. I don't smoke. I don't drink. It's been over 10 years that I've dated a man, and all they've ever done and all they ever do is hide in the woods and watch and stalk. They take good people and try to make them bad. They never once stole or took my kids away, but they tormented the hell out of me and came to my home a million times.
Okay. Okay. Now I got to play catch up with a lot of the guests that come in the room since we're talking, and maybe you can help me answer their questions.
Okay.
We have, besides yourself, we have the die mannequin that has come in. Could the host please let the woman talk and tell her stories first, ask the questions later? I think it's disturbing for her train of thought. Well, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to let her talk as much as you can, but I'm trying to get clarification from her so that we can go through it so everybody can understand. She is given a lot of time to talk there. Also, Diamond Quinn 05, I have no idea where you're from. Could you tell me your city or your county and your state? And if you're from another country, please tell me your country. Chrissy Bear, please help. She's from Kentucky. She's 32 months, 7 workers. Lost my husband in 2017. They only want survival benefits. I have a major lawsuit. Well, Chrissy Bear, we're going to need to talk to you more, I think, because if you have a major lawsuit going, I don't know if your case is open or closed. What was 32 months and 7 workers? I don't know what happened there, Chrissy Bear, and you're from Kentucky, so I'm glad to talk to you. I was told to take her somewhere, drive my daughter to school. Okay, Chrissy Bear. And Chrissy Bear says, please help. I have over a foot cut of my hair, so stressed. I've been had stomach issues. I'm so sorry about that, Chrissy Bear.
Castor oil compress for her stomach.
Yep, that's right. You bring a good point there. She also says all the results negative, of course. Okay. I don't know what the results are, but I guess results of drugs or something.
You can test positive for drugs by just eating a poppy seed muffin. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that. You're right.
They don't realize that. They just go to Tim Hortons and they grab that with their coffee and they go. And then the next thing, Child Protective Services shows up and you're positive. And you don't even smoke. So
Chrissy Bear, she says she reminds me of Mommy Dearest. I don't know what she means by that. And Dolly says facts. Dolly, where are you from? I know Chrissy's from Kentucky. And my my guest tonight on my podcast is from Canada. And Chrissy Bear says, just need help. No situation slit ships. Dolly says, a way to control you is to keep you in their control. I agree, Dolly. That is certainly true. And I'm pretty sure Philistine would agree the same way.
Well, they don't want to give you the money that they owe you.
No, they don't.
You know, they made me electromagnetic sensitive living next to a power station, causing me to have seizures, making me sick, and I couldn't have children. Were they going to admit that they knew that the power station was killing everybody in the community? No, because we were used as guinea pigs, live guinea pigs.
Right.
They totally blacklisted me. Mortgages, rental cars, everything. Media, I'm blacklisted.
Right. Chrissy says, why is it getting deep? This is a call. And Chrissy says, bipolar PS. I don't know what she means by that. If you go against their plans, they come after you. Well, sure, CPS will come after you, but you don't talk to them. You don't give them anything. If you refuse to talk to them from day one and say you only will speak to them when my attorney's present, they'll do nothing to you. They're hoping that you'll follow their directions and they'll orchestrate it against you. And they will come after you. And if you're definitely a threat or intelligent, if, for instance, a social worker, I held them off for 5 years, and I don't think I was intelligent. But for 5 years, I was being accused once a week by my in-laws. They're lay people, that we were doing something to our children that wasn't proved. I had them in my home. I showed them the paperwork. I showed them proof of my children's grades. I showed their shock records. Anyway, that went on 5 years. And they finally had to get the police involved. And at that time, I did not know that I could say no to them in talking to me or in my home. I didn't know that. Now, Chrissy Bear says, paranoia schizophrenic, which my mother is diagnostic. She's taken up time with us with real situations. Okay, and Dolly, I have no idea where you're from, Dolly. I know Chrissy Bear is from Kentucky, but I don't know where Dolly is. Facts, Dolly says yes. They back your device. You need to be a little bit more clarified on that. Now, there's one of my regular room people. Hi there, NYP. They are from California. They're from the city called California City. Hi, Dolly, erase your emails. Well, they're not supposed to disclose them to anybody. You don't want to show them to anybody but yourself. Give her your evidence, family allegations, Dolly says. Hi, Danielle. Danielle's from Georgia. I know that much. She was my co-host for many months. And how are you tonight? She's from Georgia, and she's trying to get guardianship of her son that was trapped in CPS. He's 19 years old now, or 20 years old, and CPS is has definitely kidnapped him.
Now, when my son was 3 months before his 19th birthday, they showed up here at the end of my driveway. It was raining and pouring at the end of my driveway 3 times, calling my phone, harassing me, wanting me to sign my son over before his 19th birthday.
Well, why do you even give him the you should have kept quiet, not talk to him on the phone.
I didn't pick the phone up. I
Well, how
didn't
did
go out. I got the stuff. It was delivered to me at the end of the driveway. Somebody came with an envelope. And they wanted me to sign the papers.
Well, you can't sign anything. First
Now
of
we're
all,
just
it's called
talking.
trespassing. It's called trespassing. No one can come on your property unless they have a warrant.
I have gates up. They're open now, but they just happened to be closed that particular day. So the
Then they
delivery
should
guy
never
came.
open up the gate, because all this you could do a lawsuit against them.
They are unstable. The whole government needs to just be totally wiped out and start fresh. What they're doing, it's called barterism. Now, I've had, for the last 10 years, 2 levels of clearance for foster care, having a petting zoo here, having children here. My own brother had his daughter taken away when she was 3. Now, this summer, I had foster care come and look at the house. I was approved, background checks, everything.
Why are we allowing foster care in your home? See, I don't understand why you have an open door policy to strangers.
Well, to have my niece come and live with me, they had to do a home visit.
Is that what your attorney said?
No, I didn't speak to an attorney.
This is the problem is you're trying to orchestrate this all yourself. And I know you mean well, and there are bad element people out there. But you don't deal with them unless you have.
Let me tell you, she was Caucasian when she came, and I said to her, "What are you doing here? You're not indigenous." She said, "You're not indigenous. Don't you have some type of black blood in you?" That's what she said to me. Yeah, I do.
First of all, we are getting involved into races, which everybody should be colorblind, and put that aside. That's not the issue.
It's not the issue, but this is how they talk to you. This is how they talk.
Yeah.
This is how they talk to you.
The issue is the protection of your children.
That's right.
And you have to be protected by the laws. There are laws that govern where you live. Every place in this world has laws. Now, they may not be good laws or bad laws, and laws can be changed.
They feel that they're above the law here.
Yeah.
Now, I fought for my niece. My niece was in care for 7 years. She shouldn't have been in care for a day. She should have came to me. They would not release her. Just a couple of months ago, they released her back to her father, which is my brother. As of 48 hours ago, I get a phone call. Child Protective Services wants to take my niece to Walt Disney World in America. A, she has no passport. B, my brother does not want her to leave Canada. So what does Child Protective Services want with my 10-year-old niece who doesn't have a passport, who does not need to go to Walt Disney World?
Well, wait a minute. What has the 10-year-old niece got to do with you? Are you have guardianship of your niece?
No, but you're supposed to keep the children in the family. Foster care is not supposed to just give them to somebody.
Wait, I'm confused. You have your own children. Those are the children that you should be dealing with. Your nieces and cousins.
My children are grown, 3 grown men. The 4 of us are not vaccinated, and they all went to public school.
Okay, first of all, does CPS enforce vaccination or something?
They lie and say that you can't go to school, but I have an attorney's letter from America and an attorney's letter from Canada. and my kids all graduated.
Well, first of all, there's no, I mean, your problem is you don't know the laws and you're not using somebody that does, you're doing like open heart surgery, like a plumber's working on you or you're doing it yourself. Can you imagine the complications you'll get in if you did open heart surgery in your body? That's why you need a licensed pit bull attorney like Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis knows the
Mr.
law.
Davis, I think, only represents people in America.
I didn't say he wouldn't go outside of America. I never had anybody that's interested in him even helping. In
I
fact,
think you need to have a certain license to practice in another
he
country.
has every state. He can get those licenses. You can practice law anywhere in the world. Once
Well, maybe my brother should contact Mr. Davis.
You have to pay a fee, and you can practice law in that land. You got to pay a fee. That's all you got to do.
Okay. I'll mention that to my brother.
I'm not saying that Mr. Davis will jump on there because right now he has so many cases. He's spread so thin, he have a hard time. But I know that, for instance, he has a case right now in Oklahoma. He has another case in Orange County, another case in LA County, another case in Riverside, San Bernardino, and he has also a case in Missouri.
He specializes in what he does. That's why he's so busy.
Well, I meant what it's not stopping from going any of the states. Now, I've yet to have somebody that is interested in, because he's the pit bull of attorney. Now, would you like to talk to him, by the way, since you're a guest on my show? Would you like to talk to Mr. Davis?
At some point, yes.
Okay. When you're at that point, you let me know, and I'll tell you how I can arrange that to happen. But
the sooner the better, because I would like for my brother to get some help, because he's
Mr.
the
Davis
youngest of 11.
Help people. He'll give a Zoom conference for 15 minutes for anybody that talks as a guest on my podcast or calls in. And I think you've already I think you've talked to me once.
Yeah, so I called you once. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're more than eligible. It's only a 15-minute consultation. And all he'll do is he'll help you navigate. Now, he's going to say some things that you may not like to hear because nobody wants to get an attorney. Everyone wants to use a free attorney, a court-appointed attorney, or public defender. It's worthless. It's like doing open heart surgery with a plumber.
They're no good.
A plumber is not going to be able to fix your heart. Exactly. You need a heart doctor. And you need a attorney that's trained in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. That's what CPS operates out of.
Here in New Brunswick, nobody will talk to me concerning anything.
Well, I think maybe it's the approach you make with people. It's hard sometimes.
No, it's not the approach. It's when you're blacklisted all across Canada. I had to get this property here. I had to pay for it. My father, rest his soul,
Have you thought about going to the Indian group and the First Nation people? Have you tried to talk to them? Like, do they have a bureau?
I don't live on reserve.
Okay, do they have a Bureau of Indian Affairs?
They sure do, and it's run by all Caucasians.
Well, I know that. I know about the Cherokee, and the executive director of the Cherokee is really a mess there in Oklahoma. I know.
Well, that it's a mess here in Canada.
But you can go to it. Like, I don't know in Canada, do they have a Bureau of Indian Affairs?
Yeah, they sure do.
Have you thought about going and talking to them?
I have spoken to the federal government for 30 years. When I was in grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, I used to get a check all the time for being Indigenous. Now, if you do my genealogy, it shows up that I'm Caucasian and that I don't deserve to have a status card, that I don't have any rights. Sounds like someone's falsifying documents. That's what it sounds like, because I'm sure not Caucasian.
Well, Um, once people are born in a country, they are that country. Like, if were you born in Canada?
I was born in Canada. Yes.
You are called a Canadian, and you may be a
Exactly.
third generation Canadian or a fourth, depends on how far back you trace your family. My great great grandmother was a Lakota Sioux. She is from South Dakota, and she is with the Rosebud Reservation. My great great grandfather was a Viking from Austin, Norway. He came over. He had been married 5 times. She was his fifth wife, and they had my grandfather. And then my grandfather had my father, and my father had me. Now, all this being said, is that I just call myself an American. I was born here and I'm American. Yes, I have some blood in me. I have about 33% of Lakota Sioux in me. 33%. And but I still call myself a Caucasian because I have blonde hair. I have my great grandfather's lineage, his Viking lineage there, his Norwegian lineage, or where you call it. And so I just, when people ask me, what race are you associated with? And I say, I'm a male. I'm an American. That's the only thing you have to worry about. I was born here and many generations. I know that that everybody has different ways of interpreting things. So the thing what disturbs me is I cannot believe that the Canadian government is that corrupt. I know Trudeau is not going to be president again, and they'll have to get a new prime minister. What do you call your Canadian prime minister, right?
It's corrupt. It's that corrupt.
Yeah. And you're going to have a hard time with your case, but I don't know. They've got, okay, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 was passed by Congress because for 100 years they were going to Congress and claiming that the Indian children were automatically adopted when they were brought in by CPS. And they wanted to stop CPS doing that. And so what it says, if they are an Indian children with 25% blood in them, indigenous, and that their tribe is registered as one of the 548 tribes in the United States. Now, I don't know how many tribes are in Canada, but I imagine Canada does the same thing. They probably register their tribes. So you contact your tribe and you prove them your blood, and then you say you want to be registered. Once you're registered, CPS has to turn over Indian children to the reservation, and those Indian children are then raised by an Indian family with the purpose of being reunified with their own biological mother and father.
I do not live on the reserve.
You don't have to.
My mother and father had 11 children. When the RCMP came, my mom was pregnant with my youngest brother, and my father hid me in the cellar. They came and took all of my siblings away, put them in foster care where the girls, and the boys too, but the girls were molested and raped by the women.
I know about the atrocities, okay?
Okay.
The atrocities happen even today among politicians.
Exactly.
I don't know if you heard all the hearings with all the proposed cabinet members. I never heard so much garbage about every person, every woman, every man that was nominated to do something. All I know is that we have a candidate that was elected not only by the delegates of all the states, but by the people. He won the popular vote. So the majority of the people in the United States want this individual. He, in turn, instead of sitting back and doing nothing, has tried for the last so many months here to get his cabinet picked and to create jobs and positions. I think lately he was talking about appointing Mel Gibson and Sylvester Stallone in charge of the Hollywood area. I don't know what's so important about Hollywood, but they guess Hollywood's been against whatever it is. So Mel Gibson did not hear about it too recently. He just lost his home in the Malibu fires. But he said, sure, I'll do it. And so does Sylvester Stallone. They'll try to get Hollywood to support the president. So we have all these people that have been nominated. They're all bad. They're all trashy. I never heard so much trashy stuff. It's unbelievable.
So we have 1 million children are going missing in America. They say in Canada we have 50,000. We shouldn't have one.
Well, no, I did
50,000
not know that there's 1 million children missing. I know that there's 1,000 cases per day, 7 days a week, 52 days a week that they're missing. That's 52,000 children.
Where are they going? How do you lose 1,000 children a day?
Well, I shouldn't say you lost them. Let me retract that.
Misplaced
The
them.
statistics I saw said that there was 1,000 children every day that go unreported that they were abused or they were neglected. Right now, they say that CPS is not doing their job. They're going after the wrong people. They're going after people like you, like me. And what do we have in
security?
common?
They're trying to create job security.
Nothing to do with job security. What they're doing is they're trying to get that money, the $1 trillion business. They make more money, and our government is going bankrupt because of CPS. CPS is draining the coffers of the United States Treasury by spending trillions of dollars to give themselves bonuses and incentives. President Bill Clinton in 1994 signed into law called the Incentive Act. It says, reunification is taking too long. I will give you CPS people $5,000 for every child you have adopted into foster care. And if there's special needs, I will give you $9,000. That's the incentive that CPS has. Now, I've heard it's been stopped because what was happening, reunification was being lost. And studies have shown the best parents are the biological parents. So we need reunification.
Well, living here on the farm, my son was 13 years old, homeschooled, private piano lessons, and registered in the local school. I didn't have a problem with the principal. The vice principal called Child Protective Services and called me up to ask me if I needed any help. I didn't need any help. They give you 12 hours free tutoring. I never even got it.
Okay.
They just decided to call because my son was registered in private piano lessons and he was being homeschooled on top of that. My son ended up getting kidnapped for 90 days. Child Protective Services, he was 13, left him in this man's home for 90 days.
Now, when your child was kidnapped, did you report it to the police?
Yes, of course, it was reported.
And what did
to
the police do?
Child Protective Services, it's up to them. So when they came to...
Okay, so what you did is that you contact the police, you say your son's missing, and they said he's in Child Protection Services.
No.
Is that what they said?
No. Child Protective Services went to the home, and they told my son, you're 13 years old. You're old enough. You can make the decision if you want to stay or go.
Well, that's called emancipation. They got to be emancipated. In California, it's 12 years of age because I lost my daughter. There's a social worker coached my daughter.
Exactly.
And to emancipate, divorce her mom and dad, divorce her 3 brothers, divorce her 2 sisters, divorce her grandparents, divorce her aunts, uncles, and cousins. Change her name, seal a birth certificate, get a new birth certificate, get a second Social Security card so she could double dip into Social Security and be adopted by a foster care family, all while the time and she was 18, so that the Child Protection Agency could get $20,000 a month, every year.
Exactly.
So it's simple. It's all about money, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's all about money. It's barterism.
I tried to do it for 15 years. She's 22 years now, and she's so brainwashed she wants something to do with the family.
Exactly. They brainwash the kids at that tender age.
They alienate the kids, which is
That's
against
right.
the law. Alienation is against the law.
Yeah.
Trafficking is against the law. They're the only agency that can do it legally. I guess it's called legally, and it's wrong.
They have all the power. Whatever they say goes. We went to court and the judge was very upset. The judge asked my paid attorney if, sorry, I'm just going blank. Just the thoughts going back. It's very traumatic for everybody and anybody that has to deal with child protective services and going to court. You almost lose your mind. But I had to wait 90 days to go to court to get my son when Child Protective Services could have taken him out, chose not to. And when I got him back, he was not the same child. He's 20 years old now, and it hasn't been easy. When I say they leave you in, they left him in the home because they knew the person. They knew he wasn't good around children. We've been to court a couple of times, and the judge says, you're not supposed to be around kids. Are you reading some of the messages?
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up because we're getting slow on our time here.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to, we only have 4 minutes left before I have to end the podcast. And
the only thing I can tell people is to record every interaction and ask for a second and third medical opinion because they're lies. My son did not have a disease called Hirschsprung's. Okay. They threatened to take my other 2 children away. They bombarded my godmother's house, the sheriff's.
Right.
They falsified documents and said that my children were not in school. They were in school in a different country. When they were in America, the 3 years that they did go to school, honor students, awards every year because they never missed a day. And they were actually karate international champions at a very young age. So when they came to Canada with their BS, I can't even get my medical records. They will not give me any of my medical records. And they still say that I neglect medical attention. No. We were up at the hospital a lot. If you live next to a power station, you're going to have vertigo. You're going to have dizziness, which is vertigo. You're going to have seizures. You're going to have asthma attacks. So we were up at the hospital all the time with my children. We didn't know what was making them sick. The EMFs was sucking the water out of their body. We're 80% water. So when there's no water, my son would be having an asthma attack. I didn't know at that time. I would take him to the Emerge. We were there all the time.
Yes.
They will lie. That's all they do is lie. Don't talk to them. Just document everything. You need cameras outside your house. You need to record everything. You can't trust them.
Well, this has been a very enlightening call. I'm glad that we finally got to see each other face to face. I'm so glad that you do that. Now, if you do want to talk to Vincent Davis for 15 minutes for no charge,
about my niece, yes,
a Zoom conference. There is all I need is your name, your full name, your phone number that you be reached at, and your email. And you do it to my number. Now, my number I'm going to put up on the screen so that you have it. It's that number you call me on, the 626-698-0990. So you text me your full name, your phone number, and email. And that way I can talk to Grace, who's my show producer, to get you on the podcast.
Always ask for a second opinion.
I agree.
I was in a room filled with young mothers, and I couldn't fight for them. I had to fight for my little baby. I had a male nurse come in and say, you know what? I don't agree with what they're trying to do. They were trying
Okay.
to railroad me.
I have now 8 o'clock. It's time for my show. In fact, I've gone over 5 minutes.
Okay.
Um,
Well, thank you
I
for
wanna-
having me.
I want to thank you very much. I want you to know that you can be a guest tomorrow morning. I'll be on at 8 o'clock in the morning, or tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That's Pacific Standard Time, California time. I do want to say hello to Betty. Betty's from Montana. She also has a brother who has a daughter. It's her niece, and she's trying to get guardianship of her niece. And so she's having a really tough time about that. But she says tonight she wasn't feeling the best tonight. That's why she's left. That's why she's late. Now, tonight, you all been listening to Philistine from Canada. She is the First Nation Canadian Indian. She's the indigenous tribe there. And all her life, she's had a terrible time with her children, with her life. And she said tonight that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Child Protection Agency, even the Prime Minister, and I guess the mayor, all of them are worthless because they're all corrupt. You're going to have to work with something there. And but I know one thing, you need to get an attorney. No matter where you're at, you can't do open heart surgery with a plumber. You can't do open heart surgery yourself. You need a professional attorney that is schooled and experienced in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. And I want to thank Dolly, who has had a lot of comments tonight. They've been short and simple. I hope you'll come back, Dolly. I don't know where you're from, Dolly. Let me see here. Chrissy Bear, I think you told me you're from Kentucky, and I'm glad to have you here. And I want to help you, so I hope you can come back again. And then I had NY from California who said hello. You've been on my show before, so I'm glad to see you here. And then let me see some other people here. Trying to get here some more people. Chrissy, a lot from Chrissy. Oh, a die mannequin. Never heard from you after your first message at 7:15. Do not know where you're from, but I thank you for your input. I do want to know about your case. So any of you that have a child protection case, please think about either being a guest or calling in so we can hear about your story and how I can help you. I know we didn't talk about my rules. We really didn't talk too much about CPS, but a lot of my shows have them recorded. So make sure you go over my 5 rules. So I'm going to end the podcast. And so there'll be a short message for Vincent Davis that you hear again. God bless you all and keep fighting for your children. This is Bob Pace and Philistine signing.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Okay, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.